So yep, I'll talk about hearing aids, new type of device that I led development of. Just a word on Starkey. We are a privately held company, but likely you haven't heard about it. You can buy our stock. We are private, as I said, not a small company. We generate about $1 billion in revenue worldwide. We have 5,000 employees. I have the pleasure of leading the research, development, product engineering, all of that stuff. So let me start with statistics so that you get to see the importance of this work. According to World Health Organization, almost 500 million people have what is called disabling hearing loss. So disabling hearing loss is defined as someone having 40 decibels of hearing loss. So that's a number. The way the decibels are defined, it's 20 times of log of pressure level over a reference pressure level. But to simplify this, someone who has 40 decibels of hearing loss needs the sound energy to be amplified by a factor of 10,000 for them to barely hear. So just think about it. You and I go about and talk to each other. If I needed that sound to be amplified by a factor of 10,000 in terms of energy, then I have disabling hearing loss. There's 500 million people living with that. And WHO says 2.5 billion people will have hearing loss by 2050. 700 million will need some sort of an assistive technology. Just if you think you're fine, let me tell you, for people who are 60 years and above, about a third of us will have hearing loss. And 80% of us, if we live above 80, will have hearing loss. Above 85, everyone. All of us will need. I'm sure you know someone in your family, among your relatives or friends, who do not hear very well. So that's who I'm talking about. So a couple of other technical slides, because I'll talk about things that then will make sense. A primary motivation for hearing is to understand speech, right? Of course, enjoying music, hearing the car honk, listen to the bird chirp. Everything is important, but the primary purpose of human hearing is to understand speech. So what I'm showing here are the speech frequencies. The x-axis is frequency in hertz. The y-axis is loudness in decibels. You can see all of the vowels in our speech, like A, E, I, O, U. They're grouped together in the low frequencies, in the 200 to 500 hertz. And they are in the 30 to 60 decibels of loudness. But pay attention to the right-hand side of the chart. All of the consonants, look at the right-hand side. F, TH, S. The consonants that are fricative transitions in our speech, which are critical to understanding things like thirsty, first, thirst versus burst, first. So those consonants are extremely important in understanding conversation. Those happen to be at high frequencies, between 4 and 5 kilohertz. And in normal conversation, they're between 20 to 50 decibels. Just remember that number, 4 to 5 kilohertz and 20 to 40 decibels of loudness. Now I'm going to show you the audiogram of a patient. It's a typical audiogram for someone with sensory neural hearing loss. What this means is the auditory nerve sending signal to the auditory cortex is perfectly fine, except there have been degradation in the sensory hair cells in the ear, which are responsible for converting sound signals into neural pulses. That's why, as we get older, we get hearing loss. If you look at this audiogram, this basically shows the drop-off in the sensitivity of hearing as the frequency increases. Pay attention to 4 to 5 kilohertz. This person needs an amplification of 60 to 70 decibels. Remember the last slide I showed you? The consonants in our speech is 4 to 5 kilohertz, and we speak it with 20 to 40 decibel loudness level. This person will not understand our conversations at all. They will need hearing aids. So be patient with people who are not hearing well. That is a good reason. They're not dumb. They're not lacking in smartness. It's just that the sense of hearing has degraded. So Helen Keller said, who was both blind and deaf, she said, blindness cuts us off from things because we don't see, but deafness, when you don't hear, cuts us off from people because you can't talk to them, you can't understand them. And the other part I want to talk to you about before moving to technology is hearing loss has a lot of comorbidities. They are associated with many other health problems. First is the issue of loneliness and cognitive impairment. It's well studied and well understood now. First thing that happens when you start to get hearing loss, you withdraw from social interactions. You don't like to talk to people because you can't understand them. So you get to withdraw yourself, and you like to sit by yourself all day in your room. And that's the onset of all kinds of cognitive problems, such as dementia and Alzheimer's. In fact, people with moderate hearing loss have 3 times incident cognitive impairment. And people with severe hearing loss have 5 times. And pretty much, it's a downhill, because once you don't send the signals that your cerebral cortex expects, those neurons tend to degrade and give up because they're not busy processing signals. So it's really important for people to hear. And then, there's this direct correlation between hearing loss and loss of balance. We all like to say, people get older and they fall down and they hurt themselves. It turns out people with even mild hearing loss are 3 times more likely to fall down and hurt. And I'm going to skip through the rest of it, but pretty much there is a direct correlation between a lot of health problems and hearing loss. So now I want to tell you a little bit about hearing aids. Can I see a show of hands if someone is familiar with hearing aids or you use one? Okay, quite a few of you know about hearing aids. So this, I'm going to go quickly. So this is the earliest known hearing aids. Anyone knows who this gentleman is? Yes, it's Ludwig van Beethoven. So, I was lucky to visit his city of birth, Bonn, Germany. That was before the pandemic. Probably my, not the last one, but the one before that, my trip, overseas trip before pandemic. My last one was to China and Japan, and then pandemic hit. Anyway, so Beethoven was having severe hearing loss towards the end of his life. He was having such hearing loss, the legend has it, once he finished his performance, he had to turn back to the audience to see them clap because he could not hear them clap. And yet, he was performing. It was amazing. So he was using the ear trumpet as the hearing aid. Essentially, it brings in acoustic waves through a bigger funnel, and it channels into a smaller diameter into your ear, so it amplifies mechanically. And then electronics came, and these are hearing aids from the 1900s, mid-1900s to late 1900s. Body-worn devices. The one on the left is using vacuum tubes for amplification. The one on the right is using transistors. But big devices like this, you would clip on your belt, and then it would deliver sound through your ear. And of course, things got smaller thanks to the advances in micro-electromechanical systems, based speakers and microphones, digital signal processors. Hearing aid got smaller. However, I'm showing you a picture of a hearing aid from 2009. The BBC article says the shame of wearing hearing aids, because they were still big and ugly, and people didn't want to use them. There is still this pervasive notion of stigma of wearing hearing aids. My friend and colleague at Stanford School of Medicine, where I teach on the faculty of otolaryngology department, Dr. Jackler, he says, suddenly you show up one day with a pair of glasses because you found out you don't read well. You got vision impairment. So you go to your eye doctor, get a pair of glasses, and you show up in your office. Wow, you won 20 higher points of IQ. You look smarter. But those days in 2009, you show up with a pair of hearing aids, you lost 20 points of IQ. Somehow, there was this stigma about hearing aids. So with that, I want to now tell you the story of transforming hearing aids. It had to be done. But I want to tell you 2 minutes about my own personal journey. No, I don't have hearing loss, not yet. So it's not an emotional one. But I was at Intel back then in 2000, up to 2017. I was vice president of Perceptual Computing Group. It's a group I had built of 1,550 people, at $1 billion budget. And I was leading probably the most interesting part of Intel. Perceptual Computing Group, we were developing artificial intelligence technologies, real sense sensors, robotics, AI, autonomous machines, cars that can drive by themselves, virtual reality. So if you leave out the PCs and servers, which are Intel's core business, everything interesting, I was leading it. And I got a call from this doctor in Twin Cities. He said, I would like to invite you to visit my company. I didn't know about Starkey. And he said, I am brainstorming the future of my company, which, the company generates $1 billion in revenue, and he's a single owner. And he had a feeling the world around the medical devices in terms of technology have moved far ahead. You pick up your iPhone and it's packed with technology, but it hasn't touched the medical devices. So he invited me, sent his private jet, and I went and had a good week with him brainstorming. And he said he's not trying to hire me. But when I looked at the devices, it occurred to me there is a tremendous opportunity to totally transform this device. And that was 2017. After a couple of months of interactions, I took the hard but compelling step of leaving Intel and joining Starkey, where he said, if you can make these things happen, you're going to help a whole bunch of people live better lives. So he said, with all due respect to your work at Intel, those robots, drones, and autonomous cars will not miss you much because this is a big area, right? So other people will continue your work, but you're going to help people live better lives. I met with patients that were wearing hearing aids. I looked at the impact it makes on somebody's life. They cry and they laugh when they are fitted with hearing aids and they can hear their loved ones. I decided to jump on it to create this transformation. So this one slide first summarizes what you wanted to do back in 2017. First, modern designs. Why should hearing aids look ugly? They should look cool. They should not have stigma with it. Next, they should have intelligent hearing. You shouldn't just take sound and amplify. There was the world of machine learning and artificial intelligence that's changing the world as we know it. My colleague at Stanford, Andrew Young, calls AI the new electricity. It's having an impact everywhere, but it hadn't touched hearing aids. Why should we amplify every sound? Every sound is not the same. I want to understand speech, not the noise around me. If there's a vacuum cleaner that's being used to clean the carpet, I want to suppress it. If I'm in a restaurant, I don't want to amplify the cacophony of sound around me. I want to preferentially amplify the conversation with the person that's in front of me. So machine learning and artificial intelligence. Next, if we can improve hearing aids, they should become multifunctional product. There is an example, iPhones. Phones used to be single function devices, right? Remember your Motorola Razr? It used to be just doing one thing, make a phone call. What does iPhone do? It does everything for us. It's our camera, it's our GPS device, it's our internet browser, it's everything. If a device is in your ear all the time, it should do a lot more functions for us. You should embed sensors in them, connect them to the cloud, and it should become my health monitor. It should become my early warning system. It should be able to tell me, Dr. Bhowmik, you got to see the doctor because we are noticing through biometric monitoring, you might be having these problems. Next, this one might sound gimmicky, but bear with me. If a device is in my ear, it should become my personal assistant. Google says their mission is to become, is to aggregate world's information. Your hearing device in your ear all the time, it should become the conduit to that information. Bear with me, I'm going to show you some examples. So with that, let me start with the designs itself. So it's probably not fair because I'm standing so far here, but we made this device. We started in 2017, August, when I joined. We have it in the market now. And those devices we've designed to look good, And we wanted to design such that no one knows you're wearing them. In fact, I'm wearing them right now. Anybody noticed I'm wearing my devices? So I'm showing you, Gary. So I'll take it out. Typically what happens in a room, I'll show people, they go, whoa, you have this. So I got one on the left, and it's designed to be white color. We have black, many other colors, but you won't see them. So they are designed to be discrete. And yeah, I got my one on the right as well. So these devices, I give credit to Apple for doing an amazing job in hardware design. My team built better devices. I can't have my AirPod for more than 3 hours because it tugs on your ear. You got a stud sticking out of your ear. And this product is multifunctional. Yes, it's got Bluetooth radio in there. It is my Bluetooth headset. I don't have hearing loss, but it is my Bluetooth headset. If I get a call, I simply take a call and put my phone in my pocket. I'm walking around. When I'm listening to an audiobook or a lecture, I want to ask you a question. Well, how long of a battery life do you think I get with my Bluetooth headsets function of my hearing aid? 24 hours. How do you like that? I wake up in the morning, I put my devices on a single charge, it carries through all day. Before I go to sleep, I charge again. I don't need to fidget around my bag or pocket to find my Bluetooth headset. Next, we didn't stop at that. I also wanted to design another form factor because, the world of masks, if you wear a mask, maybe this will come off with your mask, right? So I wanted to design a device that looks and feels like your Bluetooth headset. That's this. It's got 24 hours battery life as well. It's the same electronics as I have in the other one. It's got a powerful processor doing real-time machine learning. Real-time machine learning every 2.5 milliseconds. It's doing a classification of the acoustic environment to recognize the sound. In fact, it's splitting sound waves to separate speech from music, from car noise, machine noise, wind noise, and deciding what to amplify and what not to at less than 2 milliwatts of power. Pretty amazing technology. And so this device I'm showing on the slide now, the way it's different from the earbuds, it's custom made for you. It's made for my ear canal. So we take a scan of your ear canal and make it perfectly fit so that it perfectly sits inside and you never feel uncomfortable, even after all day having it in your ear. Okay, with that, let me tell you just a minute on machine part of it. So we've got a few things going on. One I said is real-time AI, classifying sound with machine learning. This is the new way of doing signal processing. For decades, hearing aids used classic signal processing. We threw all that, and we rebuilt a new sound processing engine in 2 years, and that's doing real-time AI. It's amazing results, right? It's crystal clear. It doesn't amplify anything that doesn't matter to me. It gives me an enhanced signal-to-noise ratio that I call superhuman, because I don't have hearing loss, yet I have better hearing. I can raise, this comes with an app. We built an app to go with it. And if I can raise the volume of my hearing aid, I can raise your volume so you can talk over there and I can hear, right? So I can raise the volume of the universe. It's got 4 microphones, so you can do binaural directional beamforming, so we can amplify the sound that's coming from straight in front of me, etc. This device, without me touching it, it does 1 billion adjustments of the signal parameters a day, 55 million per hour. It's real-time AI. Now let me move forward and tell you about a couple of things. We're hearing a lot of complaint with the pandemic that people are struggling to understand conversation with masks because the masks attenuate sound signals. So we built in an additional feature where if you're struggling to understand conversation despite the real-time AI, just double tap. And then it's going to take a snapshot of the sound signals around us. It's going to make a prediction of what specific frequency-dependent amplification is to be made to compensate for the attenuation imparted by the masks. And we call it edge mode because it is edge artificial intelligence. Amazing feedback from the market. Okay, the next thing. So that was all about just making better hearing aids with machine learning. Now I want to switch gear. How about health monitoring? And so when I joined this industry, I asked, where are the sensors in this device? Well, besides microphone, there was no other sensor. That's crazy. So we quietly integrated embedded sensors in this device. And here is what my device does. First, it monitors physical activities. Everything your Fitbit or Apple Watch does, we do it more accurately. Because as you flail around your wrist, you're going to get false signals, and you're going to get overestimation of your steps. Your head doesn't flail around. We get better results. In fact, we collaborated with Apple to feed our signal sensor data into Apple Health app. We get better results than wrist-worn devices. Next, if you thought that was gimmicky, we have the world's most accurate fall detection technology. Our hearing aid is the only one that can do it. Because hearing aid companies didn't think this was important. Well, we can detect fall a lot more accurately than any wrist-worn or neck-worn device. We have much less false positive because you got two of them, and the head. Head is the best place to detect fall. If one of the hearing aids detect a fall with the machine learning algorithm we built in, it checks with the other one. It's almost like asking, hey, I fell, did you fall? So because of that cross-check, we got much lower false positives. Every once in a while now, if I'm in an audiology forum presenting, I'll hear these stories from ENTs and audiologists, how this is saving lives. That older gentleman, there was an 85-year-old gentleman in southern part of the country who had fallen, and no one was living with him. He didn't have his phone with him. But his son, living in the neighboring city, got an automatic alert on his phone, because once the fall is detected, it sends an automatic message. And his son called his dad, who couldn't pick up because he was unconscious. His son called the police station, sent help. And they called us up and said his dad would have passed away if our device were not helping him. So this is pretty amazing to hear. As an engineer, saving lives is like, I never thought I would be directly impacting human lives like I'm doing in the healthcare now. Next, so let me just spend a minute on this. Well, if physical activity tracking is important, clearly we all care about steps, moves, exercise. But I also said it's extremely important to be cognitively active. If my mom is suddenly socially withdrawn, and she used to be engaged, but now she's socially engaged and now she's socially withdrawn, I want to do something about that. Maybe I'll call my sister to go visit her. We have built in a real-time social engagement quantification machine here. It's no magic. We already have sound classification going on. So we can detect the level of your social engagement. How much time have you spent in social listening situations? How actively varied is your day? Are you sitting idle in front of TV all day? We can detect it. And so we provide this score first to the patient so that they can track their own physical engagement and social engagement. And with their permission, their loved ones can get the same data. With their permission, that's the important part. We're continuously collecting sensor data, the machine learning classification data. It sits on our cloud, HIPAA compliant, and MDR compliant in Europe. And then we have a caregiver app. With the patient permission, these data can be made available to the loved ones with the patient's permission. So this is another way of providing people indicators for their health. And before I get to the future, personal assistant. So what about it? Well, this device that I have, I can simply double tap and ask a question. Any question. What's the weather? Who won the Super Bowl in 1982? Or tell me how to do this or that. Remind me when I need to take my medicine. Translate languages. It's connected to the cloud. So we are using some APIs for real-time translation. Well, I want to brag for a minute before wrapping up. Bloomberg Businessweek wrote this article about this device. I gave the reporter a demo of this product. He said the future of wearable technology is called a hearing aid. He said, even if your ears are fine, you might want a device that translates 27 languages, tracks fitness, monitors vital signs. We got a bunch of awards, including the Times Best Inventions. With that, and those of you who want to read more about it, I've written a pretty 8-page paper in Computer recently, just a month ago. Any one of you would like a copy, please send me an email, and I'll be happy to share a copy. And then I want to just share with you the future for 30 seconds and then wrap up. You know what some of you asked, this sounds amazing, and I sold this device for more than $1 billion in revenues. What's the future? So you have to invite me back, but the physical health tracking doesn't stop with just the physical activity tracking. Ear is the best place for measuring body score temperature, heart rate, blood oxygen level, blood pressure, respiratory rate, because they're microphones. We've got all that working in my lab. And it doesn't need to be a hearing aid alone. It will build on top of the hearing functions. So I'm excited about the feature that we're creating right now. I look forward to sharing those with you in the future. Thank you.